Hello, welcome to Debunking Myths, Teachers and Their Difficulty to Distinguish Pseudoscience and Neuromyth from Scientific Fact, by me, Justin Jacobson. First of all, what is a neuromyth? The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development defined it as common but incorrect beliefs about the brain held by educators and others. Neuroethicists have expressed concern that the popularity of neuroeducation may lead teachers to a premature and uncritical acceptance of brain-based teaching methods. One of the most common myths is the idea that there are a number of learning styles, such as visual, audio, and kinesthetic, that allow certain children to respond better if teaching is directed towards a preferred learning style. Throughout middle school, high school, and even the education program at University of North Dakota, where I received my undergraduate degree, I was consistently taught that everyone had a preferred learning style and that we all learn the best when our preferred learning style is implemented. The fact is that there is a lack of evidence of their effectiveness. Learning styles have been far too easily accepted by some schools and teachers, despite the lack of evidence of their effectiveness. Education scholars Myron Dembo and Keith Howard concluded in a 2007 paper on the use of learning styles in education that learning style instruments have not been shown to be valid and reliable, there is no benefit to matching instruction to preferred learning style, and there is no evidence that understanding one's learning style improves learning and its related outcomes. So do we as educators develop somewhat of a false belief in what turns out to be pseudoscience and neuromyths? Despite criticism from within and outside the field, neuroeducation has actually flourished. In fact, an Amazon.com search for brain education returns over 2,000 books, of which nearly 900 were published within the last 10 years. Given that there is yet to be concrete proof that neuroscience itself is relevant to classroom practice, what is the appeal to teachers? What do they find useful regarding neuroscience? Casey Hook and Martha Farah interviewed 13 individuals who worked in education as classroom teachers, administrators, learning and gifted specialists, and special education teachers in order to find out. The results of Hook and Farah's study concluded that educators' motivations were as follows. 1. Curiosity. The value of neuroscience was not exclusively in its ability to improve their work performance, but as a source of intellectual stimulation and enrichment in its own right. 2. Building the bridge. Their motivation for attending the conference was to better understand the state of neuroeducation and to help promote the integration of the two fields. 3. Practical applications. Of the 5 educators who sought out neuroscience in order to gain knowledge they could directly apply in their work with students, 2 were seeking information to teach to high schoolers within the context of an anatomy or learning and the brain class, and 1 found that he could use information learned at the conference to help students understand themselves. Something to keep in mind, though, is that because of the small sample size, Hook and Farah made it clear that their study was not necessarily representative of the entire population of educators. In her article titled Science or Pseudoscience, Prevalence of Neuromyths in Education, Leah Tomlin included a study that Sam Decker and some colleagues have recently published that investigated the prevalence of neuromyths. Of 242 teacher participants, 93% were interested in scientific research about the brain and its influence on learning. 90% felt it was very valuable for their teaching practice. However, more than 80% of them believed the following myth statements. 1. Individuals learn better when they receive information in their preferred learning style. 2. Differences in hemispheric dominance can help explain individual differences amongst learners. And 3. Short bouts of coordination exercises can improve integration of left and right hemispheric brain function. So who is to blame for promoting these neuromyths? Why do educators keep falling into neuromyth and pseudoscience traps? Most of the blame has fallen on university initial teacher training courses. However, a survey done by the Wellcome Trust showed that teachers were not getting learning styles predominantly from their university teacher training. Instead, 53% come by word of mouth from their institutions, 41% come from individual colleagues, and 30% come from training providers who are often linked to promoting neuromyths. So what solutions are available so educators do not fall into those traps? As Hook and Farah said, the potential for misunderstanding should not prevent neuroscientists from sharing their findings with teachers. Tomlin suggested that improving dialogue between the two disciplines will enrich research and practice in the field of neuroeducation, ultimately helping to build a better science of learning and the brain. Hook and Farah suggested that we have to establish a need for enhanced interdisciplinary communication to reduce such misunderstandings in the future and establish a successful collaboration between neuroscience and education. So after speaking of neuromyths and pseudoscience, what is an example of a research-proven method in education? One is interleaving, which is defined as mixing related but distinct material during study. Cornell and Buick's interleaving study using paintings came to the conclusion that the mixing of items, skills, or concepts during practice over the longer term seems to help us not only see the distinctions between them, but also to achieve a clearer grasp of each one individually, and that the hardest part about it is abandoning our primal faith in repetition. Michael Inchlicht, who is a neuroscientist at the University of Toronto, explains that the brain is tuned to pick up incongruities, and that seeing something that's out of order or out of place wakes the brain up, in effect, and prompts the subconscious to process the information more deeply. Here are my references I used for this presentation. Hopefully this presentation has helped you understand pseudoscience and neuromyths and how difficult it is for educators to distinguish them from scientific fact. Thank you and good day.